The pile of clothes on the chair in my bedroom grew so big that it almost became a mountain. In the kitchen, drawers overflowing with utensils that I can't even remember the last time I used. You know that feeling of coming home, and instead of feeling relief, you only see problems to fix? That's how it was for years in my life, until I discovered that in Japan, there's a completely different approach to our spaces and belongings. My 645 square foot apartment was suffocating with so many things. I tried to organize multiple times, buying more boxes, more cabinets, more solutions that just took up more space. The problem was never a lack of organizers, it was an excess of stuff. Japanese families live in much smaller spaces than ours and still manage to keep everything functional and pleasant. Today, I'm going to share with you the 10 principles of Japanese minimalism that completely transformed my home and my relationship with objects. They aren't complicated rules, nor do they require an investment, just simple shifts in mindset that make all the difference in the final outcome. And the best part, without spending money on expensive organizers that only hide the real issue. It all started when I realized I was spending 2 hours a day just tidying up the same things, over and over. That's almost an entire month per year. A month of my life dedicated to battling with objects that were supposed to serve me, not control me. Objects I wasn't even using anymore, but couldn't bring myself to part with. The first principle I learned was about real utility. The Japanese have a simple question for every object. Does this serve me now in the present? It doesn't matter if it was useful in the past or might be useful in the future. If it's not useful now, it doesn't need to occupy your physical and mental space. I started applying this to my closet. I had clothes I hadn't worn in years, but I kept them just in case I might need them someday. That dress that no longer fit, but cost a lot. Those pants I would wear when I lost weight. I organized everything into 3 groups: frequently used, rarely used, and no longer used. The third group went for donation immediately. And you know what happened? I didn't miss a single item. Not one. For the first time in years, my closet had empty spaces. The second principle is about having defined spaces for each category of objects. This may seem obvious, but oftentimes we have things without a specific home. They end up tossed in random drawers, on tables, or in the corner of the room. In Japanese culture, every object has its specific place. When we finish using something, we put it back in its place. It's that simple. I started by creating zones in my home. The kitchen zone only contained utensils that I use for cooking. No storing mail, keys, or other random items in the kitchen drawers. The work zone was kept separate from the rest zone. This created clear boundaries and made it much easier to maintain order. The third principle is about the flow of entry and exit. For each new item that comes into the home, another must go out. This prevents the gradual accumulation that we often don't notice. Before, I would buy things without thinking about where they would go, or if I already had something similar. Now, before I make a purchase, I ask myself, what am I going to remove to make room for this? This simple question has reduced my impulse buying by almost 80%. I remember when I bought a new blender because the old one was old, but it was still working perfectly. I ended up with 2 occupying space in the kitchen because I felt bad about throwing away something that still functioned. The Japanese have a different perspective. If something is still useful but you're not using it, someone else could benefit from it more. I donated the old one to a friend who needed it and kept only the new one. The fourth principle is about categories before locations. Often, we organize by rooms. We tidy up the living room first, then the bedroom, and then the kitchen. The Japanese method suggests organizing by categories. All the clothes in the house, then all the books, and then all the documents. This prevents duplicates and helps us see the actual quantity we have of each item. When I gathered all my pens, I found more than 50. They were scattered across different drawers, bags, and tables. I tested each one, and half of them no longer worked. Of those that did, I selected 10 that I really liked to use and donated the rest. I did the same with cleaning products, books, and beauty products. The entire house went through this process. The fifth principle is one of my favorites. Value the empty space. In Western culture, we tend to fill every available inch. If we have an empty shelf, we quickly think about buying something to put there. In Japanese minimalism, empty space is valuable. It allows the house to breathe and helps important objects stand out. I started to appreciate the spaces between the furniture, shelves with few items, and clear surfaces. This brought an amazing sense of spaciousness, even in my small apartment. It also drastically reduced cleaning time. Fewer objects to dust, fewer things to reorganize. The sixth principle is about intentionality. Every object in your home should be there by conscious choice, not by chance or forgetfulness. This means regularly evaluating whether something still deserves to occupy your space. My mom always kept empty boxes, because you never know. As a result, an entire closet was filled with empty containers that were never reused. I decided to be intentional with everything in my home. That chipped mug I don't use anymore, but have an emotional attachment to? I took a picture of it and let it go. The memory is preserved in the photo without taking up physical space. The books I've read and know I won't read again? I donated them to the local library. It was liberating. The seventh principle talks about multifunctionality. The Japanese value objects that serve multiple purposes, especially in small spaces. Instead of having several specific items, it's better to choose a few that are versatile. My dining table now serves both for meals and for work. My sofa has a built-in storage compartment for seasonal items. I also reduced my electronics. I didn't need a separate tablet, computer, and e-reader when one device could do almost everything. Each multifunctional item eliminated the need for several others. The eighth principle is about consistency in routines. Organization is not a one-time event, it's a daily habit. The Japanese dedicate a few minutes every day to maintaining order rather than letting things pile up for a big monthly cleanup. This makes everything easier and less exhausting. I created a daily routine of 15 minutes. 5 minutes in the morning making my bed and tidying the bedroom, 5 minutes after lunch cleaning the kitchen, and 5 minutes before bed getting the house ready for the next day. This small routine eliminated the need for exhausting weekend cleaning. The ninth principle is about quality over quantity. Instead of having many cheap items that break easily, the Japanese prefer a few high-quality items that last a long time. This reduces consumption, minimizes waste, and saves money in the long run. I made a gradual change. Every time a cheap item broke, I replaced it with a higher quality version, but only bought one. Now I have fewer pots, but each one lasts much longer and cooks better. Fewer clothes, but each piece is well made and goes with several others. The 10th and final principle is about gratitude for objects. In Japanese culture, there is a deep respect for the items that serve us. When you choose to part with something, take a moment to thank it for its service. This completely changes our relationship with objects and makes it easier to let them go when they're no longer useful. When I decided to get rid of my first cell phone, which I had kept in a drawer for years, I mentally thanked it for all the moments it captured, the important conversations it facilitated. This small ceremony of gratitude made the process of letting go feel much more natural. These 10 principles are not just about organization. They're about reclaiming control over your space and time. When I started, I had no idea of the changes that would follow. My home not only became more organized, it became more functional. The time I used to spend searching for things or tidying up is now devoted to activities I truly enjoy. I also noticed unexpected changes in my finances. When you know exactly what you have and where it is, you stop buying duplicates. When you appreciate empty space, you stop making impulse purchases. My spending on little things has dropped drastically. By the end of a year, I had saved enough for a small trip, using the money I used to spend on objects. Another change was in my focus. Visual clutter creates a constant distraction for our brains. Even if we don't consciously realize it, our eyes register every misplaced object, every pile of things to deal with. This consumes mental energy. With my home more organized, I found that I could concentrate better on work, reading, and conversations. The impact on my sleep was also surprising. My room used to have a chair that was always covered with clothes, a vanity full of products, and stacks of books on the nightstand. I removed all of that, leaving only the essentials. The result? I fall asleep faster and wake up feeling more rested. The room truly became a place of rest, not a storage space for unfinished tasks. One of the biggest hesitations I felt at first was the fear of needing something after getting rid of it. What if I threw away that cable and needed it in the future? What if I donated that dress and got invited to an event where it would be perfect? This fear makes us hold on to far more than we need. The reality I discovered was liberating. In over 90% of the cases, I never needed the items I got rid of. In the rare instances when I did need something, there were always alternatives, or I could borrow what I needed. The physical and mental space I gained infinitely outweighed these rare inconveniences. I also realized that many of the items I held on to were tied to an imaginary version of myself. Those craft supplies for when I had time for that hobby. The technical books I would buy when I studied that subject. Clothes that no longer fit, but I kept for when I returned to my old weight. These things no longer represented who I was in the present, but an idealized image that might never come to fruition. Accepting who we are today, our real needs and our current interests, is a fundamental part of Japanese minimalism. Our spaces should reflect our real lives, not an imaginary one. A common question when we talk about minimalism is about keepsakes and sentimental items. Do I need to throw away family photos? Love letters? Travel souvenirs? Of course not. Japanese minimalism isn't about getting rid of everything. It's about being mindful of each thing we keep. For emotional items, I created a single memory box. In it, I keep the most special physical photos, some letters, and small mementos from important moments. Everything is organized, protected, and valued. The secret is to establish limits. When the box fills up, I need to evaluate what truly deserves to stay there. The kitchen was one of the places where I saw the quickest results. I had utensils I never used, pots for occasions that never happened, and impulse-bought appliances. I kept only what I used regularly and organized it in a way that made the most frequently used items more accessible. Today, I can prepare any meal without making a mess of the entire kitchen. Each utensil has its specific place, and since there are few items, it's easy to put everything away quickly. My cleanup time after cooking has been cut in half. And the most interesting part, I cook at home more now because the process has become simpler and more enjoyable. The bathroom also underwent a radical transformation. I had dozens of beauty products, free samples, and makeup. Many were expired, and others I didn't even remember having. I conducted a test. I separated only the essentials and stored the rest in a box. If I didn't miss something after 30 days, it meant I really didn't need it. By the end of the month, 80% of the items remained in the box, untouched. This clearly showed me how much I bought on impulse or accumulated unnecessarily. Now, my bathroom contains only the essentials. Everything is visible and accessible. My morning routine has become much quicker without so many options to distract me. An interesting aspect of Japanese minimalism is how it teaches us to appreciate transition spaces. That hallway is not just a passageway. It can be a clean and pleasant space that prepares your mood for the next environment. The entrance to the home is not just where we take off our shoes. It's where we leave behind the stress of the outside world and prepare for the comfort of home. I created a small ritual at the entrance of my home, a bench to sit on and take off my shoes, a hook for my bag and keys, and a small mirror. This simple organization helps me transition between the outside world and my personal space, leaving the day's worries behind. A question that many people ask me is about hosting guests. How do you welcome people into a minimalist home? Won't it seem empty or impersonal? The truth is quite the opposite. When your home contains only what you truly love and use, each object tells a story and serves a purpose. This makes the atmosphere much more welcoming and personal than a house cluttered with random things. My guests always comment on how cozy my home feels and how comfortable they are. Without the visual distraction of clutter, people really focus on the conversation, the food, and the company. It creates a much richer experience for everyone involved. Another myth is that minimalism means having a home without color or personality, all white and gray. That has nothing to do with true Japanese minimalism. The point is not about the appearance, but about functionality and mindfulness. My home has colors, plants, and artwork, but each item was chosen with intention. Balance is key. I have fewer pieces of art on the walls, but each one has a special significance. I have fewer plants, but each one is healthy and well cared for. The difference is that now these elements stand out instead of getting lost in the clutter. One of the biggest obstacles for many people is dealing with the belongings of other family members. How do you practice minimalism when living with someone who tends to accumulate? The advice I can offer is to start with your own belongings and spaces. Demonstrate the benefits in practice without trying to impose changes on others. With my husband, it was exactly like that. I started by organizing my side of the closet, my drawers, and my personal items. At first, he thought it was strange, but gradually he began to notice how quickly I could find my things and how my space was always tidy with little effort. After a few months, he asked for help to organize his side too. If you live with children, the challenge seems even greater. Toys everywhere, clothes that no longer fit, piles of school supplies. The secret here is to involve the kids in the process, adapting the principles to their age. Younger children can choose which toys they still like and which ones can be donated to other kids. Older ones can learn about donation and reusing. We established a toy rotation system. One part is stored away while the other is available. Each month, we swap them out. This reduces daily clutter and creates excitement when the old toys come back into circulation. Children learn early on to value what they have and to maintain organization. Speaking of organization with kids, I discovered something fundamental: accessibility. All organizational systems need to be easy to maintain. Low shelves for toys they use every day, large bins without complicated lids, and visual labels for the little ones who can't read yet. The simpler the system, the more likely it is to be maintained. The same goes for adults. If organization is too complex or labor-intensive, it will eventually be abandoned. The most efficient systems are the simplest: a basket for mail, a hook for keys, a single place for chargers. Simplicity is the key to consistency. Over time, I realized that Japanese minimalism extends beyond just the physical organization of the home. I began applying the same principles to other areas of my life. My schedule became simpler, with fewer commitments but more meaningful ones. My work became more focused, with fewer side projects and greater depth. Even my cell phone changed. I removed dozens of apps that I rarely used. I organized the icons by category and frequency of use. I disabled unnecessary notifications. The result was impressive: fewer distractions, less wasted time, and more concentration on what really matters. Today, 2 years after starting this journey, my home is almost unrecognizable. Not because of what I bought or added, but because of what I removed. The spaces are open and functional. The surfaces are clear. Every object has its place and purpose. Daily cleaning takes minutes, not hours. Maintaining order has become a natural habit, not a tedious chore. But the biggest transformation wasn't in the house. It was in my relationship with objects and consumption. Today, I buy much less, but each purchase is more mindful. I value quality over quantity. I consider the complete life cycle of every item I bring into my home, how it will be used, maintained, and eventually discarded. If you feel like your home is suffocating with so much stuff that you spend too much time organizing without seeing lasting results, that you can never find what you need when you need it, perhaps it's time to try these principles. Start small: a drawer, a shelf, a corner of the table. The results will come gradually, and each small success will motivate you for the next step. Remember, Japanese minimalism isn't about having less for the sake of having less. It's about making room for what truly matters. It's about freeing up time and energy that were once consumed by unnecessary objects. It's about creating a home that supports you, not one that overwhelms you. True luxury today isn't about having a lot of things. It's about having space, time, and tranquility. These are increasingly rare and precious resources that no purchase can provide. On the contrary, the more we buy, the less of these resources we have. The journey to a more organized and functional home isn't about perfection. I still have drawers that could be better organized. I still make impulse purchases occasionally, and I still accumulate papers from time to time. The difference is that I am now aware of it and have tools to correct my course when necessary. If there's one final message I'd like to leave, it's that your home should work for you, not the other way around. If you're spending hours organizing, cleaning, and tidying up, something is wrong. Your home should be your sanctuary, not an endless chore. And with the principles of Japanese minimalism, this is absolutely achievable. Please share this blessed video so it can reach and help others like you and me. Don't forget to click the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being part of our faith community. If you'd like to support our channel a bit more, consider becoming a member. I'm leaving 2 more videos here for you to continue your quest. Thank you, and may God bless you all. See you soon.